Hello again. Welcome to the second video in our series about PARCC. First, let me say that if you didn't already go ahead and click on that link on my website and open this yourself, I'd recommend going ahead and doing this. Feel free to pause these videos as you go along and play with the tools as you see them. Just make sure you watch the entirety of these videos so you don't miss anything. But if you want to kind of go along with me, that's totally cool too. I'm going to tell you a little bit in this video about some of the tools that you're going to have at your disposal on Friday, Monday, and Tuesday when you take PARCC. Also, just about the general layout of the test. This is basically what it will look like when you're in the test. It's not going to be too much different than what you see here. Before I talk about the layout, let's just talk about some of the tools you have access to. First things first, this bar right here is one you're going to want to look at pretty frequently, especially right here. This tells you the item number you're on. We are on item 1 of 23, but remember number 7 is actually the end of the first session, which is the literary analysis. So right now I'm in the literary analysis section of the test. Up here you can navigate question to question. So you can see it goes to 2 when you click it, and you can go back to 1. What's cool about this is you can go back and forth as much as you want to. It's not like TCAP where you can only go backwards at certain times. So you can use this to go backwards and forwards. Another button that I think is going to be very useful to you, especially if you use all the features in the test, is this review button. This review button just takes you to this screen, which shows you a lot of different things. It shows you all the questions in that particular session. So it'll be much shorter than this, remember. But it'll allow you to jump quickly to other questions. So if you know you need to get to question 14 quickly, you can just click the view on question 14 and it takes you to question 14. What's also cool is that it shows you a status. So the status is not viewed for anything that you have not seen. If you've seen it but you didn't answer it, it gives you an exclamation point, not answered. And then it also has this flagged section. Oh, and by the way, when you do answer it, it just says answered here. This flag section is also kind of cool. If we go back to our questions, so I'm going to always hit return to question. And actually, let's go to question 1 just to keep it. So here we are in question 1. If for some reason I want to flag this question, it's like, oh, I don't know how to answer this, or I definitely want to come back to this when I write my essay, you can flag it. And it puts it gray on this question, so that when you go on to question 2, you can see this question's not flagged. Go back to it and it still is. But what's cool is you go back to this review and it's flagged it. They've also built in this feature so that at the end you can just isolate just the not answered questions or just the flagged questions. So if I do this, it shows me all the questions that are not answered, which is all of them. Or if I click this, it's all the flagged questions. So just the interface itself actually has some nice little features built into it that can help you navigate the test quickly and efficiently. So I'm going to go ahead and unflag that and finish showing you the tools here. You can see they have what's called the pointer. This is just your standard cursor. It'll allow you to answer questions. You can see that it's a cursor until you hover over a response, and then you can select the response either by clicking the bubble or the answer itself. Okay. Also in here, it allows you to highlight text with the cursor. Now here's another feature. When you highlight text, you have 4 colors to choose from. White just means to unhighlight it, and then you can choose any of these colors and it'll keep it highlighted for you. Now I'll point out right now that we've highlighted it on this question, question 1. So this text, you're going to see when I go over here, it's still the same text, but that highlighting went away. So you're only highlighting for that question that you're on. Okay. Next up is the Notepad. Now the Notepad, I can see this being useful, and I'll give you some more tips on using this when I talk about the tips and tricks in the next video. The Notepad can be moved around the screen, put wherever you'd like. You cannot change the size, but again, you can type things in here, close the Notepad, and whenever you open it up on this question, it's always there. But let me show you, just like the highlighting, when you go to a new question, go to number 2, and you open the Notepad, it's not there anymore. It's always being saved just on the question that you type it on. Okay, so I'll show you, I have ideas of how you might actually be able to use this to your advantage. And lastly is a very useful tool when taking any multiple choice test, an answer eliminator. So if you highlight this, you can see that when you hover over an answer, it puts a big X on it. Well, this allows you to do process of elimination. So if you're like, oh, this definitely isn't it, and you can see that the bubble went away when I clicked it, and this definitely isn't it. Well, now I have these two, and then I can think about the question a little more, and it's just less for your brain to take in. Do this, switch back to your cursor, and select it. I can see some students, using this very effectively, and making it a habit to use this feature on every single multiple choice question. So those are the basic tools, and then finally just the layout of the test. Essentially, each session, the instructions for the entire session will appear up here, and they will stay there throughout the entire session. So I told you questions 1 through 7 are the literary analysis. If I jump ahead to questions 1 through 7, it's going to be the same exact task in that spot. So I'll just show you. Same exact task. Everything else on the page changes, but that's the task for the entire session. So essentially you're doing one big task throughout the course of the test. So I'm going to hop back onto question 1 here. So those are the instructions. Here is always in this little section off to the left will be your text. Now this could be a video, this could be a sound bite, or it could be a short story. Sometimes if you're comparing or contrasting two stories, which you do later on in this session, there'll actually be two texts there to toggle back and forth between. Okay. This is usually, you can scroll through it while being able to scroll out here. All right. The final, I'm going to go back to question 1 just to keep it uniform. The final part of the, and I should say that at the top of each text there will be directions telling you what to do with that text for these questions, which takes us to the questions. There will almost always be 2 questions for each item, a part A and a part B. So this is number 1, part A, part B. If I go to number 2, part A, part B. Okay. And it'll be that way all the way up to number 7. Now the reason there's part A, part B is actually pretty clever. Part A is always the thinking or the skill that they're testing. So this says, what attitude does the narrator of Confetti Girl reveal when she uses the book as a coaster in paragraph 34? So they're trying to see if you can understand maybe character development here, and how an author characterizes a character using certain techniques. So this is the skill that they're testing here, but down here is always the evidence that shows you really truly understand the skill or thinking that you're doing up here, which is pretty smart. So which quotation from the passage best shows additional evidence of the attitude in part A? So now they're saying, okay, where's the additional evidence that shows this exact same attitude? So meaning you have to really understand the attitude that you chose up here to get this one correct. Here's a note about this, and it's one that upset some students. You can get part A, if you, let's say the answer is A, and you select it, that's correct. Part B, let's say the answer is actually B, but you choose C. PARCC will give you credit for answering this one correctly, but not this one, okay, obviously. Well, let's say it's reversed. Let's say the correct answer is A, but you choose B for part A. And then for part B, the correct answer is B, and you choose B. They will not give you credit for any of this. In order to get credit for either of these questions, you have to get the first one correct. I know that might not make sense to you, but if you think about it this way, let's say the answer for part A is apple. That's the correct answer. And you just have some fruit here, apple, banana, grape, and orange, or something like that. So you choose A for apple, and you get that correct. Well, if you come down here and you have colors that are your textual evidence, like red, purple, yellow, and orange or something like that. Well, A is the correct answer. Apple is red. Well, let's say you chose up here, you chose banana and then red. Well, bananas aren't red. So if that analogy works for you, it doesn't make sense to give you credit if you don't get this first one correct. So that's the general layout of most of the questions, but let me show you real quick question number 7. Question number 7 is something that you will do on all 3 of the tests, which is write an extended essay in response to some prompt. So you can see there's a prompt up here. The essay goes in this tiny little box. All right. This will be a multi-paragraph essay on all of the sessions. This is not a 1-paragraph response. If you're writing 1 paragraph, 2 paragraphs, probably even 3 paragraphs, not a good thing. You want to be thinking about 4 paragraphs or more in this box here to answer these essays. You can generally see, they won't always say this, but they'll generally point out that it's an essay. Okay? So, and if I just show you real quick, I go back here. Item 17 is the research simulation. 23 is the narrative. So let's look at 17 and 23. Here's 17. You can see it is also an essay. Write an essay that compares. And let's just hop real quick to 23. Write a continuation of the story. So now you're actually writing a story, but this is still a multi-paragraph story with correct punctuation and things like that. So with that said, that kind of concludes the tools and layouts portion of the videos. Thanks for watching. Play around with it if you'd like to right now.